I wasn't expecting this in our earth science class. It's amazing.
These temperatures are enough to induce melting of the asteroid.
You're learning science, but at the same time, you're learning to incorporate it into a totally different field.
Like you're talking about making a blog.
It has to be in connection with their name.
Can creating a virtual enterprise improve a student's understanding of science?
We had the pressure of learning the material in order to make our business successful.
Perhaps you can come up with ideas concerning enterprise and concerning these remarkable stones.
In virtual enterprise classrooms, students must use their developing scientific knowledge to create a business model for a virtual startup company.
After we do all this exploration, we could actually branch out to that as well.
Because we're just not some company trying to make money. It'll be backed by science.
I've already thought about a pitch that encapsulates everything we could be.
Students develop an idea for a venture, devise their mission and structure, then pitch it to a panel.
How are you going to attract your target market?
There's not a worse feeling than knowing that I'm not prepared.
Make me with those mineral ingredients a mafic rock.
Having the VE element gave you more of a desire to learn.
If you can dream it and you believe it, you can definitely do it. Take you from the ordinary to the extraordinary.
To use meteorites to understand how planets form, how life form, we obviously need samples.
At Kingsborough Community College, students in an earth science class create a virtual enterprise by combining business skills with scientific knowledge.
So we're going to have really high energy environments. My priority is the core course content.
It looks like a combination of them. For me, it's the business making the science interesting. So at the end of the day, if the business isn't successful, I still take the learning aspect of it.
Today, students brainstorm ways to use meteorites as the foundation of their business.
After hearing about how meteorites form, we had so many ideas.
This is a rock that came from outer space, and who would be into that? I really didn't know much about meteorites before the class.
All right, good morning, class. Welcome back. So last week we were dealing mostly with looking at the origins of our universe. Forming around young stars or young stellar objects, we have all the leftover material from that molecular cloud, which falls down and ends up being entrained in rotation around the young object. And we call this disk of material, this gas and dusty material, the protoplanetary disk.
Meteorite is a piece of an asteroid that has fallen to Earth, and it's only a meteorite when it's actually on Earth.
Date the meteorite using radioactive decay and come up with an age for our solar system.
We did learn how planets formed out of the Big Bang Theory and how asteroids and meteorites play a part in that.
One of the unifying properties of all meteorites, because they all contain metal, is they're all at least a little bit magnetic.
I didn't even think about meteorites prior to this class. If I'm never intrigued about something, I just lose interest. So this what kind of drew me in. Once it crashes down on it, like it's still hot. I was like, I'm gonna Google about it, I'm gonna find out about it, and I'm gonna get myself out there.
When they come through the atmosphere, the very outer layer melts from that friction. But the inside is unaffected. And the heat diffuses so fast that when they land on the ground, they're actually cool. And people have seen a meteorite fall and go pick it up and it hasn't burnt them or anything like that. Without an actual understanding of what they can tell us about the solar system, about knowing where they come from, how we collect them, then they really cannot ever hope to master a business in this field. And they recognise that very quickly. And the force of buoyancy was what? 1. So what's its weight going to be in water? 1.5 grams, exactly. 2.5 minus the force of buoyancy.
When I heard of the virtual enterprise as a component with the earth science, I was actually really excited because we'd be seeing how business and science are intertwined.
But the point is there's definitely more demand for meteorites than there are samples. So can you come up with some form of enterprise to make these samples perhaps mean more to everybody? Okay, that's really what I think your challenge is.
It's not real, but we have to model the business and create the business and try and execute the business as if it were real.
We're all consumers, and I'd really like, if it was me, I'd like to have a product made of meteorites, something that would be my own.
We could do like a complete retreat. They learn about meteorites, They take trips out to whatever destination it is. Is it Antarctica? Is it Australia? And they'll go exploring, finding meteorites, and then they'll bring them back.
I would definitely love like a sci-fi themed like sculpture, or like you know how there's like action figures people collect.
You can go through like blogs or websites and see how people react and what kind of interest that they have in it.
To like just get a feel for what the market is like and what the interests are about. And that could be like on our blog, and we can advertise there too. We've gone through quite a few ideas that, you know, didn't make it past the drawing board, and we've had a few disagreements on some ideas.
With the meteorites that they find, it can either go to like donations or laboratory use. That'll show the company in a better light.
I think it's just that we have so many ideas and there's so many things that we can do. There's so many possibilities.
Like people would pay money to see meteorites, so we could like curate a museum.
Their original thoughts were, let's do a museum, let's sell kits to schools, let's deal with the researcher. That's not the way we're going to make money. If the business actually wants to take off, we have to get the consumer and the product together from the beginning all the way to the end. Say they capture it on film, falling down to earth. They have your shooting star that you made a wish on, you make that into a wedding bang, it's something special for your girl because it has a story attached to it, and then they have the rare stone on top of it. It just becomes rarity on rarity, which makes it just that much more expensive.
It's such a romantic idea. I really like it. That is really actually at the current sort of cutting edge of meteorite recovery science. We're seeing more and more meteorites land and recovering more and more samples that we have observed, but this is really a very modern thing. So to base your whole business on that is not enough samples, I wouldn't think. But making rings from existing meteorites, that's very possible.
I would pay as much as it took to get that customized or personalized for me or for someone special to me.
So they really interact very well. David, yeah, he views the big ideas, sort of the big, we'll get a movie star to do this, the big links. Jenna really, she's who I would want to run my small business. She sees the practical stuff, what's going to have to happen. And Hector is really, really good at speaking beautifully and enthusiastically. So they have all the things that they need for the successful parts of the project.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what we could make from this material and like why people would buy it. We could mold this or like sculpt it into like, you know, the Starship Enterprise or something, and we could like take commissions. So like that could be our business.
Better just stop you there, Hector. You feel this object?
You can't even carve the meteorite to make that kind of figurine. Dr. Howard informed us.
To craft it into any kind of meaningful shape is prohibitively time-consuming and likely very, very expensive.
I wanted it to be a more products-driven business. However, the gathering of meteorites is a selling point, which didn't occur to me at first.
We could do something like the Big Bang Theory. I like to take something from nothing and create something big out of it. An actor or something to say it on a show, like the whole theme of our company.
Someone like the Bill Nye, the Science Guy, because everyone knows Bill Nye, the Science Guy. We all grew up with that.
Exactly.
So
I think that it was a little bit too fluffed. Instead of waxing poetic, it should be, okay, we're going to do A, B, and C, and we're going to accomplish that by doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah, what types of like branches are we going to be involved with? Like definitely the corporate branch.
We were talking about the individual, private donation.
Researchers,
and that'll give us our credibility too, because we're just not some company going out there trying to make money. It'll be backed by science.
And maybe we have like the educational side, which will also lend credibility, I think.
I think that's a good idea too. Have kids go on this expedition and then find meteorites, and it can be in exchange for credit.
Or we could do it on a younger level and do like a summer camp, so they can start learning about space at a younger age.
Private school summer camps. Maybe we can keep some of the profitability in it.
City kids don't have the funds.
And I don't want to leave anyone out. People that want to get in touch with science and connect with the world and know more about our surroundings.
So where are we getting the funds from? We should also think of that as well.
As much as I want to do the education point, I think that it'll be harder to get funds through there, and especially grants. It can be really time consuming. I kind of wanted to go the educational route David was very much on the corporate area. Hector wanted to do the individual, and we need to kind of focus in on one, even though all of them are great. By focusing on that one, we can still reach the others. We just still need to get the funds first. That's how it turned out to be. It would have to be through corporate and the individual, so private donations or people that have the money and just want to give it, and then the companies that want to go on the expeditions.
In order to make a successful business, we have to think about the corporate side, the individual side. We have to think about how we're going to market it, advertise, where we're going to get the money. So yeah, we have to think about a lot of different factors.
That sounds like a really interesting idea, facilitating actual collecting trips to find meteorites that people are going to pay for themselves or have funded by corporations, either because they get some of the sample, the product, or contribute to the generation of new knowledge about how the planet forms. I didn't offer any direct instructions as to what the nature of the business would be. So while they were brainstorming, I would sort of try to sit at the back and just try to facilitate things. So have a look at what kind of corporations you might think would be involved in this and what kind of people from those corporations. And then if you want to make it broader in terms of the public, try and consider maybe what members of the public would be interested in this. Who would it appeal to? And just try and formalise some of these brainstorming ideas. Sounds good.
If this is where we are in the beginning, I can't possibly imagine where we'll end up.
How about we just come back to that?